Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to another episode of our Let's Play of Kerbal Space Program version 1.1. This is still the experimental build. Many things may break, many things may change by the time the official version 1.1 comes out, but I'm still really excited and pumped to be playing this new version. So many great performance improvements, little UI improvements, and we haven't even seen some of the new parts yet. We haven't done a list of like literally going through every single new feature here because there's just a lot of them, and a lot of them might be too small to mention. We did talk about the new contracts and milestones, which are going to be excellent. There's also some new ones, some new changes to the satellite contracts, tourism contracts that are really exciting. I don't know, so many exciting things. If you do know what there was an official add-on that Squad made some time ago for Kerbal Space Program called the Asteroid Day add-on. It was one of their two official mods. The first one was, I think it added a soccer ball or something like that. But this one here actually added a lot of really cool parts. Well, those parts are added into the base game, which is really great. Anyway, enough of that. Jebediah is itching. We've given him like 2 fake flights so far, and 2 flights that went up, but we didn't even give him a full tank of gas. We did not trust him. We want to leave the atmosphere. We actually have a mission to escape the atmosphere and another one to orbit Kerbal, and that is going to be our goal today. We probably have enough components to go as is, but we want Jebediah to do one more test for us before we try to send him into space. We need to make sure that the capsule can handle rotation properly. And to do that, we are going to go and work in the space plane hangar. Space plane hangar is exactly the same as the vehicle assembly building, except you build sideways because you tend to be building planes that go like this. In our case, we are going to be building a vehicle to test rolling and to make sure that all of our reaction wheels are working okay and that our ship is relatively sturdy. So what we're going to do to test rolling is we're going to build a bit of a vessel that's going to have the command module, a science junior. We're going to throw a service bay in between there, then another science junior, and then, and this is crazy, another command module. But I'm going to go ahead and rotate that one this way so we get a nice symmetrical little design. I'm going to pop open the service bay over here so it's a little easier to work with, and I'm going to throw a couple of goo canisters in there. I'm going to turn off clipping, turn on symmetry. There we go. We've got a couple of goo canisters inside of that. And that is going to be our little science tester. We're going to have someone else coming along for the ride. Since we are making sure that it's functional, we're going to throw, let's say Bill, our engineer, is going to go in there. And we're going to make sure that everything stays intact and see how that goes. Let's go ahead and quote-unquote launch this ship. So we are going to be on the runway over here. Currently just a patch of dirt. Ooh, let's turn on the SAS so we don't roll away right now. Just a little bit of a patch of dirt. Not particularly exciting, but we can science some more. We can get some crew reports from the runway. Reporting in at the runway. Good thing there's not a lot of air traffic because I don't think we ever got clearance from the tower to be here. Also, we have, we're not a plane, so we probably shouldn't be here. But we can also get material bay information from the runway. Excellent. That's 7.5 science we're going to get from that. And we can go ahead and open the service bay, which actually moves us a little bit. We're going to open one of these goo containers and get that science. Okay, excellent. That looks really good. We can go and close this again. And whoop, we can go ahead and also even EVA. We're going to have Jebediah do it. We're going to get some EVA stuff. Oh my god, we're going to get crushed. Keep experiment. And grab. No, board. Oh god. Oh, not camera free. That's not what I wanted. Hold on. There we go. Run, 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 run. Oh no! It's going without us. I guess the SAS canceled. Oh, because of course the SAS canceled. SAS is something the pilot does. Bye. Goodbye. You know what? It's fine. Oh, it stopped. I was going to say it's fine because oh, it's coming back at us! Run, Jebediah, run! Yeah, we're okay. I was going to say we can just switch. I can hit here and control things from Bill. Bill can drive. That's alright. This is basically just a car. Can I get back in? Grab and board. Awesome. EVA report from runway added. Okay, cool. So now, next step. Next step is we're going to roll off the runway. See, I wanted it to roll. I just didn't want it to roll without Jebediah. We're going to roll all the way off the runway. We're not going to go too fast here. First of all, our Kerbals will get dizzy. We don't have a, oh, what do you call them? the spinny around thing that astronauts train in, right? You know, the thing that makes their face go all wobbly. I can't remember what you call that right now. But that normal training thing, we don't have that. We can't afford it. So the best we can do is roll Kerbals off a hill in their command modules and see how that works. Let's hit the brakes with the SAS again. We're going to do some more science over here from, presumably, the KSC. Right, so we're still at the Kerbal Space Center, but we're not on the runway itself. So we can get some more science from over here. Excellent. We're going to, oops! I love how it hops up. We're going to grab the other goo containment unit over here and get some more science there. We can get a crew report. Let's grab it from this pod. Hey, Bill. How you feeling? Space Center, we're home. Excellent. We get a little bit of information there. But Bob, it's Bill. Sorry. I'm going to have Bill do the EVA because he deserves a little bit of credit. Also, oh, you know what? The door's open. It's going to stay nice and stable. But also, it is using the SAS still from our pilot. So we can get EVA information while flying over Kerbin's shores. We already have that, actually. Let me go and detach. And can we get different EVA information from the KSC? We can. 2.4 science from that. Lovely. And let's see if we can't board back again. Excellent. Let's recover this vessel. I think that was a very successful test. Our rotational experiments are a success. Lovely. See here, the symbols are there. It's just, it has to be updated in some of the other text. In the contact text, it's not there, but that's fine. That's going to be changed. No worries there. Okay, we got a bunch more science, which should give us enough to unlock one more level. 45, 45, 45, and 45. No, actually, we don't have enough to unlock anything else. But I'm still going to consider that to be an excellent test. Okay, it is time for us to try to leave the atmosphere. They're sick of being here on Kerbin. They want to leave the atmosphere. Let's go and design a new ship for that purpose. The question is, on our first go to leave the atmosphere, do we bring all the science modules with us, knowing that they will add considerable weight and difficulty to our re-entry? I think the answer is yes, because, damn it, we're Kerbals. So, well, here's, oh, that's kind of tricky, actually. Because if we leave the atmosphere, we almost want, like, double the science, because we have only scienced from the low atmosphere. We need to science from the upper atmosphere. And then we have to science from space itself. Well, let's go ahead and bring one go and see what happens. I'm going to put one goo container on the back. Not symmetry mode. I should have shift X'd, but there we go. We're going to do that. I'm once again going to bring the extra radial mounted parachute, which probably means we actually don't need the top parachute. We could replace it with something else. The parachute also acts very nicely as a nose cone, although I guess we could use an actual nose cone. No, we can't. We don't have a small nose cone. Never mind. So yeah, we'll just throw the Mark 16 back on there. Better to have too many parachutes than too few. We are going to use a heat shield. I'm not sure that we're going, because we're not returning from orbit, I'm actually not sure that we're going to generate enough heat to truly require the heat shield, but we're going to go ahead and do that anyway. We should land gently enough. We don't need any sort of landing struts or anything of that nature. I'm pretty confident about this. We could throw on an antenna to ship some of the crew reports back, but I don't think that's going to be particularly required. No, I'm pretty happy about this. So we'll drop a stack decoupler there. We've got these fuel tanks. We can go and drop quite a few, actually. We might be able to basically more or less have one stage. Getting to space is actually very easy. It's staying in space that is tricky. Getting to space requires not that much delta V. You can just go straight up. That'll get you to space. Staying in space needs a lot more delta V and mostly involves you going very fast sideways. So I think something like this might work. Let's again, I'm going to do my math over in my other window. So I wonder if I can just capture that. Not very handily. Hang on, let me see if I can do something here. Windows has a calculator. I just tend to do my math in Google. And then if I go and capture the calculator window and pop that up over here and move to top and reset size. Oh, it's not actually capturing. That's interesting. It's not actually capturing it. What if I go entire window instead? Really? Let me try a slightly different capture mode and just see what happens here. Da-da-da. And nope. Looks like it's a no-go. For some reason, the Windows calculator is not capturable in OBS. Strange. Anyway, I'll just keep doing the math anyway. So what was I going to do? I was going to say my swivel engine has, and right now we mostly care about the atmospheric level thrust, because that's the bigger question mark. Maybe I'll split the difference. I'll call it 175 kilonewtons. So we've got a thrust of 175, and that's going to be divided by our weight of 7.7 tons, multiplied by 9.8. So 7.7 times 9.8, again, is effectively the thrust of gravity. So this ratio is actually giving us 2.3 as our thrust to weight ratio, which means we will go up pretty quick, actually, which means I think we can probably afford one more fuel tank. So this brings our mass up to 8.9. Let's check that. 8.9 brings us to a thrust to weight ratio of 2, which is still pretty high. A thrust to weight ratio of like that's greater than say 1.25. That's usually what I target, somewhere around 1.25 to 1.3. That seems to be a really nice, gentle acceleration that doesn't waste too much delta V. Anyway, this, I actually don't know what my delta V is. We could calculate this. It needs slightly more, I actually have a spreadsheet set up for it, where you can look at your engine, your thrust to weight ratio, your engine's ISP, and the total amount of fuel you bring. You can use that to calculate the delta V of your ship without needing an add-on. I made a spreadsheet so I could figure this stuff out. But here we don't really care. We're not having to math delta V. We hope this can get us, this will definitely get us to space. Whether it will get us to orbit, probably not, but it will get us into space. And that's fine. We don't need to go to orbit at all. In fact, it'll almost certainly be wicked overkill for space. But I think this is good. We're still not naming these crafts. These are not worth naming quite yet. Okay, I like it. Let's launch. We've got Jebediah in there. Excellent. So let's launch. And this time, Jebediah, we promise this is going to be a for realsy. I'm going to go ahead and preemptively open up my windows for my science. So it'll be much more convenient to run the experiments. There. And we will try to capture this data from the high atmosphere on this go. We'll get space on the next one, because we're going to be going to space plenty. And getting the science in space, you actually have, especially if you go into orbit, you got all the time in the world. Getting it from the high atmosphere is often something you don't want to be concerned with. So we're going to go full throttle, SAS turned on. We're going to hit the gas. Excellent. And when we hit about, oh yeah, it's a little more powerful than I would normally like. When we hit about 100 meters per second, I'm going to go ahead and turn about 10 degrees towards the east to initiate a gravity turn. Now, if my concern is just technically to get into space, the easiest way to do that is certainly to go straight up and then come back straight down. Although coming back straight down, sometimes, oh yeah, we got to throttle down. Much too powerful here. And long rockets like this are very susceptible to some very crazy and annoying aerodynamic effects, because if you turn sideways too far, so the yellow circle shows you the direction your ship is traveling in. And then the dot in the middle of your nav ball is the direction you're facing. If you're not facing the direction you're traveling in, that means sort of wind from the air is hitting you from the side, which likes to cause you to flip around, which is making this quite hard to control here. Okay, I think I can go back to full throttle. So, I mean, we're not going directly east-wise. It's a little wobbly. We could have put some fins on here, and actually that might have been a really good idea. But I think we're going to handle this okay. I think we've just entered the upper atmosphere. Oh, I gotta throttle down. I'm getting some real heat effects. There we go. Upper atmosphere. Get that and a crew report. We're gonna keep all these things. Excellent. So, and if my top goal was simply to escape the atmosphere, I would have gone straight up. But I also want to ensure that I return home safely. So we're about to run out of fuel. So coming home safely, the best way to ensure that is by going a little bit more sideways. I'm going to go ahead and drop this stage because we don't need it. I'm going to turn off the SAS because we don't need that right now. We can save a little bit of electrical power. And how high is our apoapsis? 119 kilometers. So we're definitely going to space. In fact, we're going to go higher into space than we often target when we're trying to go orbital. So if I do nothing here, so at 70,000, we will leave the atmosphere and officially be in space. But we're not actually going to be able to get any tech from it. It will complete one of our missions, though. One of our missions was to leave the atmosphere, and boom, done. In fact, we get a note about it. Escape the atmosphere. We got 35,000 Kerbal bucks and 6 science from that, and we broke a bunch more milestones. Wonderful. But we can't science, because we already have a crew report, and that would override it, and I'm going to say no to that. If we could EVA, then I could EVA right now, pull out the crew report, and then reset it and do all those things. But I can't. Without upgrading our astronaut center, we are not allowed to EVA. But we have hit space for the first time. Everything is looking very nice and glorious. Let's turn the hatch so that it's on the sunny. Whoops, on the sunny side, and let's go in. Actually, what we're gonna do is rotate around. Can I see Kerbal? No. There it is. There it is. Look at that. It's our planet. Oh, lovely. Okay, so we are closing in the apoapsis. We don't have a timer for this at this point. We haven't upgraded our tracking station, so we don't know how long it's going to take us to get there and how long it's going to take us to get back, but we've got literally nothing to do right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and time warp. We're going to cross the apoapsis and start coming back down, and it'll cancel the time warp as soon as we enter into the atmosphere. Glorious. So this is our orbital speed. I'm going to switch the nav ball to show me surface speed, which is going to be quite important in a moment here. And we're entering the atmosphere now. I'm going to turn on the SAS, and I'm going to point myself retrograde. One way to think of that is my butt end is pointing forward towards my motion. And that's important because I want my heat shield to be absorbing all of the heat as much as possible as we re-enter. Now, our orbital, because we didn't go orbital, our actual speed isn't that high. So we're not actually going to have to worry about burning off that much heat. We may have not even needed a heat shield, I'm not sure, just because we're not going that fast. But it's still a good idea. Now, if your ship is well balanced in terms of its center of mass relative to its atmospheric shape from the heat shield, you may not need the SAS. It may just naturally keep itself in this orientation. But we're a little bit longer and a little bit unsteady over here, and, you know, there's room for randomness, so we're going to keep the SAS on. We're going to use the reaction wheels from inside our command module to help us stay pointed in the right way. I'm just going to manually make adjustments to make sure I am pointing completely retrograde here. Later on, when you get a more experienced pilot or better probe course, you will be able to change things to automatically stay locked to retrograde. But no, see, that's what I'm talking about. It's actually, oh, I'm pushing to the left as much as possible over here. But we almost went into a completely uncontrolled flip, so I'm happy I had the SAS on there. Now we're past the danger zone, so it's okay. Danger. What was I saying? Oh, yes, but in the vanilla SAS controls of Kerbal Space Program, locking to retrograde on re-entry here, it actually uses a lot of power. The reaction wheels are constantly activated to fight the atmospheric forces, and as such you'll burn your electric charge in seconds trying to do that. So if you're using just the regular SAS mode over here, it's not recommended that you lock it to retrograde for re-entry. Instead, lock it to normal stability assist mode, the like default one, and just manually try to keep yourself pointed the right way. If you do have a mod like MechJeb is less overkill. It doesn't use quite as much. It's a little bit smarter about how and when it uses the reaction wheels to keep yourself pointing, and therefore locking MechJeb to retrograde does not drain your electric charge as much. It still uses it more than if you just lock it to regular SAS and just manually do it, but it's not going to just completely deplete your battery instantly. It's worth noting you can still deploy your parachutes when your batteries are out, so that's okay. All right, we've got a long way to go before we land here because I did deploy, I did deploy as early as I was allowed to, which is the safest way to go, but it does mean we have to wait. Oh, look at the sun setting, just gorgeous over here. Can we see it? No. No, we can't because the hatch is pointing kind of upwards, so we're looking at the sky over there. So Jeb doesn't have much of an interesting view, but there it is. We are officially landing in the ocean now, but again, our crew report is still full and occupied, so we can't get any more science at this point. If I had brought an antenna, I would have been able to transmit those crew reports, but it's fine. We will get them over the long run. Splash down, can kill the time warp, and we can just recover our vessel. I guess, no, actually, we will go in EVA, because I think this will be a different EVA. This is Kerbin's Waters. There we go, 3.2 science from that. And if I go and take that crew report, and store it. I'm storing it under the couch. So now I can do a crew report from the water. So we will get slightly new science. There we go, an extra 2 ticks. And if we EVA again, well, that's not a flying one, is it? So that's the same report. It still shows us science. I think if I were to enter the water, it would be exactly the same. So we'll just board and we'll recover everything as one go. It'll be slightly more convenient. Got plenty of science to unlock the next level. There we go. We're at 98 science. Great. And we do have a whole lot of money, which is wonderful. So let's go and unlock what? I mean, better rocketry is always good. We don't need the Terrier engine. It is helpful for entering orbit, but it's not really critical for that. The bigger fuel tanks are quite nice for it, just because it's slightly more convenient, but it's not literally the most important thing. More flight controls might be nice because these winglets. So we have these little winglets here. These are tail fins. They don't have any control surfaces. Okay, they don't have little flaps, well, not flaps, but they don't have like little ailerons or different elevons and things to control your things. Whereas this one, right click, does. It's a control surface, which means you can actually flip that the little flappy bit at the back. Flaps are something completely different, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm tempted to unlock the next level of basic science because I think we have all of the actual hardware that we need to get places. By unlocking the next level of basic science, we unlock the thermometer, which gives us the ability to get more science, which means we get everything else a little bit faster. Batteries wouldn't be bad either, but mostly it's the thermometer that I'm unlocking this for. So I think that seems like a pretty good idea. And we do have a little bit left over. I don't need the aviation parts. General construction, struts are always nice, of course, but I think we can live without all these. I think I will unlock the next level of rocketry because these engines will be handy for some other goals that we might have. Okay, so now... Oh, and we finished... Oh, more milestones. Oh, but we can take more missions. Yes. We can haul some stuff. I'm going to cancel some of these locational ones because I'm not a big fan of them. So, and apparently, the more you decline something, the less likely you are to get more of them. Ah, I like this. This is a mission to test something at the launch site. This is really easy to do. The Poodle liquid fuel engine. Let's go ahead and do one of these tests here, because it'll give us a little bit of money. And this one's really easy to do, because we have to test it at the launch site. I'm just going to hit... Yeah, I'll hit new. It's easy to rebuild. So, we actually don't even need a manned command pod. We could have used the Sputnik, but that's going to be okay. And we have to test this engine. It's in blue because it's not an engine we normally have access to. I'm going to attach at the bottom here. Notice we have no fuel. That's okay. We don't need fuel to make this run. We can just test this as is. Basically, we're just pushing the button to make sure all the valves open up, and that's that. So I can just hit the space bar to launch, and that should successfully complete the contract. There it is. It's only $5,000 and 1 extra point of science, but hey, it's a little bit of free money. Can't complain about that. We can use the money for great things. What we might want to use the money for is upgrading the tracking station. So we can track orbital information. It's 150,000. It's a lot of money. It would help us orbit a wee bit, but it's hardly critical. I think I'll want to probably save the money to potentially upgrade the VAB and or launch pad instead, because we might run into some of our part limits before anything else. So we can grab another mission. Yeah, I think until we achieve orbit, we're not really going to get a whole lot of other interesting missions available here. We have to test this when we're already suborbital, so that's not what we want. Some of these are very tricky, right? Like this one, we need to haul this one to a specific destination at a specific speed, although that's actually very generous. It's quite large. It might be annoying to boost. Wow, it's an advance and a bunch of... This is actually a lot of money. That's really quite interesting. I feel uneasy about combining this with our orbit mission, though. And I think we're actually going to be able to complete this for free later on when we actually start using these components. I'm going to grab this contract. I'm not going to look to fulfill it. I'm just going to try to see if we can orbit Kerbal as is. So let's go ahead and work that out. So, we're going to build our first orbital ship, and we're going to try to be a little bit better about it. So, I mean, the base core is still going to be the same. It's going to be the Science Junior. It's going to have the mystery goo container on the back. It's going to have a 2-hot thermometer, which I will actually click on and put there. I am going to throw on a Communitron 16, so an antenna this time, and I'll put it right back there. I think we can transmit temperature information for full science. I can't remember exactly, but I think we can. That'll allow us to reuse it, which is good because we haven't done anything with the thermometer yet, so we're going to need it from the ground, from low atmosphere, high atmosphere, and space as well. We are going to get our parachutes going on. Going to get the Mark 16 and the 2 radial mounted again, just because we are going for maximum safety here. How very un-Kerbal-like. We are going to get a heat shield at the bottom. Then we're going to follow that up with a decoupler. Oh, yeah, that's our Rocco Max. So if we wanted to test this Rocco Max one, like we could attach it. It's huge. Doesn't mean we couldn't get it to where we wanted it, but later on we're just going to use it anyway, so we'll be okay. All right, and we are going to make a 2-stage ship. It's going to be relatively simple. Swivel engine there, and then I'm just going to duplicate this, but then I'm going to grab that and go maybe 3 of these and do 1 of those. And I think we will want just the basic fins. That's right, we had the winglets as well. I'm going to go with the basic fins for just a wee bit. Nah, let's grab the winglets. A wee bit more aerodynamic stability in the low atmosphere. So, first question is, can this go up? I'm very confident that our middle swivel engine will easily be able to push this. That's going to have lots of thrust, and that's okay. We are okay with having lots of overkill thrust when we're high in the atmosphere and the air is thin. It's more of a question of at the bottom, but here's the thing. This is a fairly heavy rocket now, heavier than anything we've made. Can this engine push us? So again, we have to turn to a bit of math. We have a mass of 13.9 tons. So I'm going to punch that in. 13.9 tons times 9.8 gives us the pull of gravity, and the push from our engines, right, the swivel engine, has a thrust that varies between, the swivel, between 168, let's call it 170 and 200. I'm using 175 as a value, which is a little lower than literally atmospheric, but it's going to improve pretty quickly. And if I do that, I have a thrust-to-weight ratio of 1.29. So that's above 1, which means we're going to go up. And it's above 1 enough that we'll go up at a rate that you can appreciate enough. 1.29 thrust-to-weight ratio is pretty comfortable. I think I'm quite happy with that. I don't think I need anything else. I don't think we need any more batteries. We don't need radiators. We don't need sideways decoupler things. We're going to have lots of oomph. Now, what I don't know is what my delta V is. And I can calculate this. But we're gonna go blind on this one. If we don't get into orbit with this bad boy, then we will recalculate. I suppose what it could do to give us a little bit more delta V is I could throw maybe another fuel tank on here. What does that bring my total weight to? 15.1 tons. So at 15.1 tons, I now have a launch thrust weight of about 1.18. That's a little bit sluggish, and I'm uncomfortable with that. But maybe this one here, which brings us to 14.5 tons. Okay, we're at 1.23 thrust weight at launch. The second stage, again, is going to have lots of oomph. That extra fuel tank there should give us a fair bit more delta V. Obviously, we lose a little bit of delta V sort of from the bottom stage because we're not going to go quite as far/fast because we are pushing a little bit more weight. But this upper stage is going to go quite a bit further, and maybe that'll be enough to get us into orbit. I don't know. Let's find out. We're going to name this one. This is going to get a name for the first... Whoa, that's an interesting... Oh, when it's blank, it does that. Okay. Probably they'll change it to be a little bit more grayed out in the future, because right now it's just a wee bit confusing. But again, this is an experimental build. They are still working on patch 1.1. In fact, I might send them a little message to suggest, hey, you probably want to remember to gray out the name when it is blank, because right now it looks a little bit silly. I'm just bringing up my list of Twitch.tv subscribers, which one of the perks to that, of course, is I name stuff after you, and then it probably gets destroyed. So we are going to have... This is going to be the... What is it? The KSS, the Kerbal spaceship. Theodorbson. There we go. Hopefully, you are going to be the first vessel to enter orbit. I mean, really, oh, sorry, this is actually... I should not call this the KSS Theodorbson, because that's the name of a specific vessel. What it should be is like the Theodorbson class or something like that. Ship. So I probably have 2 entries in my saves, but that's okay. And then when we launch... With Jebediah in here, yep, which is groovy. When we launch, you can rename your vessel at that point, right? So the idea is I have one name for the save vessel, but this one here, rename vessel, this one, because it's the first one, is just going to be the KSS Theodorbson. There we are. Excellent. And hopefully you don't get destroyed. I'm going to keep up all my little science modules so that they're a little easier to access later on. God, I love this new feature. This is my favorite thing. I mean, it's maybe a little less important with some of the goo containers and stuff, but it's going to be particularly important, I think, with the too hot thermometer, because I think we are going to be able to transmit this. So let's log the temperature at ground. Oh, you only get half of it back. Yeah. Out of laziness, I think I'll go ahead and... You know what? I'll wait. I'll just take a temperature record from space. It'll give us the most amount of science, and then we'll figure something out. I guess I could have brought multiple thermometers. They're pretty light, and if we are going to return them, it's not going to cost us anything. You know what? We are going to revert to the vehicle assembly. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. We're not at our part limit yet. No, we're good. So we're just going to... So I'm going to hold Alt, or no, I did that wrong. I'm going to Alt click it once it's placed, which should give me another copy. I'm going to turn on symmetry mode, and then I'm going to hit R for mirror symmetry instead of radial symmetry. Mirror symmetry is the default when you're in the space plane hangar, but radial symmetry is the default when you are in here. So there we go. So we're gonna have 3 of them. I won't grab a report from the ground, or maybe I'll transmit the one on the ground. It'll cost us 1 extra science, but then it'll just get it out of the way, and I won't have to worry about it. I don't know. I guess I could go and be non-lazy, but that sounds pretty sucky. So we're gonna grab you, log temperature. We're gonna transmit. And yeah, I guess I don't need to pre-open most things. I just need to pre-open the thermometers, because it's going to be a little tricky to get the low atmosphere, high atmosphere copy of these. And I'm not going to transmit them. So I'll use both those for that, and then the third one will be saved for space, where I'll have presumably lots of time, even if we don't achieve orbit. Okay, we are, the stability is on. We are, oh, because we transmitted, or, yeah, we transmitted, and we're losing electric charge from stability. Well, we better go, because we will generate electric charge as we move. You can see this launch is a little bit more sluggish than some of the past ones, but still not too bad. I didn't double check my staging, but it looks to be okay. That's good. And since we are going for orbit, it is going to be important to try to get my gravity turn more correct than before. Now, these fins will try to keep pulling me towards our prograde movement. So it'll be actually a little harder to tip over for our gravity turn. And it's actually not going to gravity turn as much, because it's not going to, once we just sort of let it go, it's not going to keep going. So it's going to need a fair amount of manual massaging here. I started a little early because I want to try to encourage it to get in place. But you see, it feels like it's trying to fight. Also, you know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to rotate this way, because our goo canister is what was pulling us just a little bit off course here. So I should have done that from the start, or placed the goo canister differently. So now, because we're oriented this way, the goo canister is helping to pull us in the correct direction for the gravity turn. So I'm really having to fight. There's a lot of pushback towards the center because of these fins, which is good. It helps to stop your ship from flipping over, because it wants to go more straight. We're nearly done on our first stage already. Okay, so now actually I've gravity turned a little too aggressively. No, actually we're looking pretty good. Pretty good. Maybe a little aggressive. I'm gonna pull up. Okay, we'll stage and go with the next engine. Just try to hold a little closer to 45. I don't want to go too flat. It is better for achieving orbit with less fuel, but it is a little safer to go a bit steeper. Okay, now we're probably okay. How are we looking over here? And I can actually drive from here, of course. And what we're going to do is we're going to stop. As soon as the apoapsis goes above 70, then we know we're going to hit space. We're going to want a little margin above that. You know, I think... stop. 81. We've got fuel left. I don't know if we're going to have enough to circularize. Oh. We might have accelerated a little too much. We might be a little too flat because we're still in a thicker part of the atmosphere. And of course, we are losing speed from being in the atmosphere, so that's bleeding off. I'm not sure our ascent profile was ideal. Also, I haven't been getting any of my temperature records. I forgot to do the low atmosphere one. I'm going to get the high atmosphere at least, so we'll have to get the low atmosphere again later on. We do have full electric charge because there is an alternator in the swivel engines. But yeah, I doubt we're gonna have enough to actually enter orbit, especially since, yeah, this is still fairly steep. We're gonna fall well short of doing that, but we'll be able to get some temperature readings in space, and that's going to be helpful. I am a little disappointed. I think maybe with a better ascent profile, we would have been able to do it. So that's a little disappointing. Okay, the atmosphere is thin enough. We're basically not losing any more speed now. And I can probably turn off the SAS. There's still a little bit of air that might cause us to spin around a wee bit here, but it's hardly going to be worth mentioning. Try to keep us pointing a little bit more prograde because it's less wind resistance. But yeah, it was basically gone. And now we're officially in space once more. Let me go ahead and science everything. Material bay. Excellent. Goo container. Excellent. That's a lot of science. And is this the thermometer we have? Excellent. So we got all our science from space. We still have the mission to enter orbit. I'm going to go ahead and... I don't know. I don't have timers. I don't know when we're going to hit the apoapsis here. I don't know if I should start my burn now for optimized stuff or wait. I guess I'll go fully oriented towards the horizon here. And go with the burn. It's not pushing up our apoapsis much. I do have to make sure that we don't get stuck in orbit. Yeah, we're not going to have enough fuel. Boom. So we're still shy. We're pretty close. We would have been able to do it potentially with a better ascent profile, and certainly if we brought just a wee bit more juice with us over here. There's a couple of different ways we can do that. Of course, instead of being a single long dart, we can go and have some radio boosters, and we don't have the fuel like lines yet, so we can't do like cool asparagus staging. Yeah, this new atmospheric shader is quite cool. That is definitely different. I like that little rainbow effect. I'm pretty sure that's new. Reminds me of some of the things that I would grab like the scatterer mod for, which I may not need anymore. And I like minimizing how many mods. I'm not one of these people that just throws in infinite mods because, you know, they're cool or whatever. I like my mods to really improve the game in a noticeable way. Turn off the SAS to save power, although right now since we're stable, it's not really using anything. We may as well go ahead and stage. And we are on our way down. So I'm going to go and preemptively turn myself to retrograde. And I'm going to flip the navball mode to surface retrograde because I want to make sure I'm pointing retrograde relative to the atmosphere so that I know that my butt is facing into the wind, which is what we care about. Turn on the SAS, and right now it's nothing to do, so it's not going to use power. Once we do enter the atmosphere, it will use up a little bit of juice. But again, the regular SAS stability assist mode is very conservative when it comes to power usage. Most of the power usage on a reentry will probably be used by me fiddling with making sure I continue to face retrograde here. I'm going to physics warp just a bit, although if you're physics warping, you really don't want to be making such massive changes. And all right, we'll cancel that. No more physics warp, and then I can make sure to do this. If you are physics warping, you could hit caps lock to get more fine-tuned control. But sometimes it can screw a little bit with the SAS system too, so it's probably better to just do it right. You will get atmospheric effects off your antenna, but I don't believe they're actually physics enabled, so this thing should not burn off, even though it looks kind of silly. The goo canister is a little bit different, although it's going to be mostly occluded by the base of our ship over here. See our bladers barely being burned at all, so we're not actually having to soak a whole lot of fire damage. So overall, we're doing pretty good. Whoosh. And we should be able to easily and safely re-enter here. If you don't know, by the way, in the stage over here, the parachutes are red because it would currently be unsafe to deploy them. We are getting some heat. Is that on my actual command pod? It's hard to tell. These are new heat bars. There we go. That went away. Oh, it might have been on the goo canister. Actually, it might have been highlighting. No, that's command pod itself that's red. So it's getting a little bit of heat, probably just transferred up from the base. Almost certainly it's that heat transfer system that's taking part there. And it's only there for moments, so it's pretty fine. But yeah, if you right-click on your parachute, you can find out it would be unsafe to deploy it now. The game lets you know, if you were to deploy it now, your atmospheric speed would be so big that your parachute would just rip off. At some point, it'll turn yellow, say it's risky, and then it'll turn just, I guess, regular beige or whatever to say that it's fine. And then once they get deployed, they turn green, I think, right? Still lots of electric charge left, which is great. We could probably safely turn off the SAS now. We might go into a bit of a tumble, but with this kind of ship design, I don't think that tumble would be enough to rip anything apart. But now that's gone completely. I can just turn it off. There we go. We got our great parachutes. I'm going to wait a little bit longer before deploying them. I suppose if I'm going to do that, I'll keep the SAS on just to say. But just in the interest of making our reentry a little bit faster. Time warp down. Because we'll have lots of time. We could even wait to below a kilometer. But I'm going to go ahead and deploy it now. And it's going to full deploy in a second because we're below a kilometer. Ooh, those G-forces. That is neck-breaking G-forces. Poor Jebediah there. because we didn't deploy the chutes in like partially open mode first to bleed off a little bit of speed. So it was a bit of a sudden kill off, but we're okay. We'll just time warp and land. So we failed to achieve orbit. Very disappointing. I think I could have with that simple design if my ascent profile had been a little bit better. Also, if you're just trying to achieve orbit, and here's the thing, right? If we wanted to go back up there, we've already science juniored and goo canistered space. Actually, we've done all the science in space short of an EVA, which means we could complete the go to space mission with just a capsule, which would be a hell of a lot lighter. And I'm willing to bet that our design, if we took all this stuff out, would easily make it to space, trivially make it to space, because it would be so much lighter. And in fact, that's probably exactly what we'll do. But we'll have to wait until next time. Thank you very much for watching another episode, folks. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye.